All right, here we are, day number 5, live streaming in a row out of 8 straight days. And quick context for anyone watching the replay, enrollment is open and spots are limited for the world's first live online poker dealer school. So this is just like a regular poker dealer school, which people have been asking me to run for a very long time. And this is my version of it. It's through Zoom, where you and your classmates are on a Zoom call with me for the whole class. And I promise you, I know what I'm doing teaching through video. I've been doing it for years, and I've been teaching on YouTube for years. And this class is going to be great. This school is going to be great. And spots are limited, 15 spots total. Early bird ends on the 3rd. School starts on the 16th. That's of February. So February 3rd is your last chance to get the early bird. And then February 16th is your last chance to get in, unless all the spots are gone before that, in which case you miss out and get it soon, right? And then the live streams themselves. So why am I doing 8 days in a row? What am I doing here? I am here teaching people anything that they want. I'm willing to do demos. I can do demonstrations. I got my whole table set up here. You can see it right here. And anybody who wants me to go through anything, historically in my live streams, I've hesitated to go over like the real meat of things. I don't care right now. Whatever you actually want me to demo, I'm happy to do it. If you have questions about anything in the industry, happy to do it. Yesterday, I had somebody ask me how many hands or how many cards they think I pitched in my entire career. So I sat there and calculated it. And actually, then they suggested I turn that into a YouTube short. And I think that's a great idea. I'm excited about that one. Um, Please, 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 if you're watching right now or if you're watching on the replay and you want to come to one of these next live streams, please put your questions, comments in the chat. I really, really love the support of going back and forth with anybody in the chat. It helps me not have to figure out what to talk about. I know exactly what to talk about. I know a lot about this industry. And just in case you've never actually gotten to know me, I have been a dealer for years. I started in the industry in 2007. I learned table games first. Then I went on to learn poker like, I think it was about 3.5 months in. So I started with blackjack, Spanish 21, 3 card poker. Um, what else was there? Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and I feel like there was one more. And then quickly I learned Pai Gow poker, and it was really fun being a table games dealer. But the real thing that I wanted to know how to do was deal poker, and I became a poker dealer in that same casino pretty quickly. In Washington State is where I eventually started with a Vegas instructor, which was really cool. And then from there, I went on to supervise. I became a dual rate table game slash poker supervisor. So like any given day, I would come into work when I first started, and this was really cool. Like the learning was so satisfying. I didn't know what they were going to have me do. I would either deal poker, I would deal table games. I did eventually learn craps and roulette, which was really fun. I never got amazing at craps because I was all over the place there. They usually needed me to floor stuff more often. I even boxed a little bit in craps, but only when the games weren't super intense. But yeah, I wouldn't know. Like I would come in, maybe I would deal poker, maybe I would deal uh, in the pit, craps, any of the regular games, baccarat, all that stuff. And then other days I would supervise poker, and they had a small poker room, so I'd have to open the room, close the room, like learn how to do all that stuff. And same thing in the pit. Pit was a little bit bigger, so I didn't have to learn how to open and close, but I did need to know a lot of stuff there, and it was really cool. And yeah, so that's been my starting point, and then from there I went on to be a full-time poker supervisor. Spent years as a poker floor, spent years as a shift manager, and then I went to another room and supervised again. And then I was like a dual supervisor, shift manager there. And then I went on and I actually started dealing a lot more. I dealt at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, the guitar before it was a guitar. And currently, every other month, you might find me in Dallas dealing at TCH. And listen, this has been my journey, and then my journey on YouTube is totally separate. Like when I was a shift manager, I actually created this channel because I was tired of retraining people that I'd already hired when there should just have been a resource to send people to. Like if someone got hired, they already had the dealer job. You gotta teach them how to shuffle a little better if it's not quite up to par, right? Like we're auditioning people and giving them the job. We're not looking to see if the person is perfect at everything. We're looking to see if the person has what it takes to be a dealer, and we can clean them up a little bit. We just do that, right? But at the time I was like, let me just create a YouTube channel. And this was in 2011. I started recording content with this with my friend Jerry. Never would have been able to create this channel without Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. And yeah, then it's turned into like a full course. And now starting in February, for the first time, I actually have a dealer school. And this dealer school is unique because it is the very first one that is through Zoom. And I have just done so much stuff over video training people to become dealers. And my content and my one on ones have helped thousands of dealers pass auditions, get jobs in the industry. And so now here I am. And so right now, this session, like I said, is for anybody who wants to jump in the chat and ask me anything. Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I know it's a little bit of a weird time. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious. Like, this is just what was available for me. Turns out, I could have kept my 2 p.m. because everything that was planned for my kids this weekend got canceled. We got like 4 or 5 inches of snow, which in Asheville, North Carolina is like 100 feet of snow. They've literally, this blows my mind because I'm from the Northeast, like a year ago, must have been last winter. I was gonna say 6 months ago, which is impossible. Feels like 6 months ago. They actually canceled last winter a Friday. There was like a half inch of snow, and they did a remote learning day. Thank you, COVID. The kids did not go to school. They learned in their packet for like 20 minutes. And it was cold all weekend. And then they also did the same thing on Monday with no additional snow, like a half an inch that got us out of school for those 2 days. That was crazy. A Friday all the way to a Monday. And right now on a Saturday, we have 4 or 5 inches of snow outside. So basketball games were canceled. Winter percussion stuff for my older son was canceled. And, but I set it up for 7 o'clock. So I'm here now. So I know this is going to be a new group. I know there's a different people. Here's what I want from you. Okay. I don't really like monologuing. I don't really like just talking to the camera. If you're watching right now and you want to know literally anything, or if you're a dealer and you just want to shoot the shit with me, say anything. Oh, I see a comment right now. Say anything. Ask me anything. I'll do demos. I will, chat with you about whatever you want. I'll give my opinions on complicated things. Doesn't matter. We could have fun, whatever you want. Just I'm here for 90 minutes or so. This is day 5 of 8. And let's see what the first comment is. Oh, it's Melka. All right. Thank you for doing this, Mark. One of the confusing rules in tournament cash, if a player shows his card to the next player before he folds it, uh, is it a must for the dealer to table the card? That's a good question. So, tournament and cash are different in a lot of ways. In this particular instance, let me just think for a second. I want to like, it's funny, being me and teaching this stuff, sometimes I have to take a second because I have to like all this stuff is actually in my instincts sometimes. If you're a poker dealer and you've ever tried teaching other poker dealers how to deal and what the rules are, it's really funny. Every single one of us that tries to teach other people, we remember, wait a minute, I have to learn how to translate this stuff from my instincts into the actual answers and communicate those answers. So let me see. In a tournament, so in a cash game, I'm just gonna start there for a second. In a cash game, if a player has shown their neighbor and then they fold, then no, I don't think that you automatically show those cards. But in a lot of places, if a player exposes those cards in a, well, let's differentiate a little bit here. So like there's your regular like $100 buy-in tournament with your regulars where you might have like 20 to 50 players depending on the poker room. Maybe you've got it at 11 or noon toward the morning, and it's sort of the purpose of it is to sort of get the room going a little bit. A lot of poker rooms do that. In your tournament with your regulars, if like a new player comes to the table, $100 buy-in, something like that, and somebody does that, chances are they're a cash player. So the official rule a lot of the times in a lot of poker rooms, and you need to find out from your poker room what they do, but a lot of poker rooms a lot of the time will actually either give that person a warning or a penalty depending on the seriousness of how that poker room views that offense. And it's funny because in a cash game, if somebody's about to fold and their neighbor does not have cards, which is what we're saying, to the is let me see, if a player shows his cards to the player to the next player before he folds. So just to clarify, there is a difference. If they have cards, then it does get exposed. If they don't have cards, it generally does not get exposed. And what you would do in like a $1,000 buy-in or $10,000 buy-in tournament or something like that, that's more significant, maybe even a 500 depending on your room, is that player would be subject to penalty for exposing their cards during the hand. That's like the super intense, harsh, real, like direct interpretation of the rule. Um, and generally speaking, it's a little bit of a booby trap for something sort of innocent like that. If the player does not have cards, so just so that we're clear, let's say that this player right here on the button, let me get some of this stuff out of the way. I'll get my keyboard down here. This player right here is on the button, and they've got this over here, and this player over here. Let me just get right into it. Um, okay, so they fold, and they sort of show this person their hand on the way down. This would have to get exposed immediately, and a supervisor would have to be notified about that in a lot of poker rooms. Okay. That being said, if this player does not have cards, let's say the opponent's over here, and this player does, just so that we can make sure that there's still action, let's say that there's a pot and a flop. All right. If this player shows this player their cards, as the dealer, what you would do here is, if it's like a friendly room, you would say, oh, it's not like a cash game. Like you don't have to like escalate it if it's $100 buy-in, and it's simply say, oh, it's not like a cash game. You're not supposed to do that here. Any resistance, and you say, oh, I'm actually supposed to call the floor. I was sort of just like being passive with you. And then, if the resistance continues, you get a supervisor over there. Generally speaking, they're going to be like, oh, I didn't know. Because most of them, they don't actually know the difference between that. But, and I've dealt in both of these situations. If you're in like a tournament series or something like that, especially if there's a clear announcement for everyone where you're not supposed to do that, and this player's folding and they do show somebody else, you would not expose it because this player doesn't have cards, uh, unless somebody asks before it gets to the muck. Okay, so regular scenario, they show this person in a high stakes tournament. If they show this person, and especially if you're a new dealer, just making sure, you would probably call a floor. And then if someone asks to see the hand, you don't show it now. You actually put it aside, and you would show it like when the action's done. And there's so many different variations on that specific answer that I gave, that it's like, you know, where is the poker room in terms of enforcing rules and thinking about tournaments, and how seriously are they taking it? If you're thinking about auditioning and you don't already have a job in a poker room, you would call the floor in the audition, because your goal in the audition is to make the supervising staff as comfortable as possible hiring you, which means that you understand the starting point baseline of how to enforce rules in the poker room. And because in a case like this, the worst case scenario is a supervisor comes over and says, okay, thanks for telling me that. Like they're not gonna have an issue with you calling the floor over for that. But all right, so that was a little bit of a jumpy answer. So I'm just gonna go over this one more time, real simple. In a general rule for a tournament, if a player exposes their hand at all, they're supposed to either get a warning or a penalty. In most rooms, some rooms don't care. I can't control everybody. I don't try to control anybody. And then, you know, if it's like a $100 buy-in tournament with all your regulars, and a cash player decides to play tournament today, you just tell them it's not a cash game. But then if they do it again, you definitely get a floor over. And the reason for that, by the way, is in tournaments, every single chip that's in play in a tournament is um is going to impact the entire tournament. Where those chips go and where they go, like, the tournament plays down and down and down. And so that has an actual significant impact in the rest of the tournament. So, um, thank you for asking that question. Let me see. Do you have any tips on breaking down stacks, counting chips? He has free YouTube videos on cutting chips, not for someone who's in the hand. Right. So if you're just talking about not for showing someone who's in the hand, then yes, it would be. It's almost like, the newer I am in the poker room, the more strict I'm going to be enforcing that rule. And then once I know, like if I know seven of the eight players at the tournament, and the one who does it is the only one I don't know, like if the players in the tournament expect precision with the rules, and every single one of them has been penalized for this, Like if it's that culture in the room, oh, then I'm absolutely just going to call the floor. But if everybody's chill in the tournament, they're all like, they're your $100 players, then I'm probably not going to worry about that. And maybe after I get up, like I would just tell the person, oh, it's not a cash game. We don't do that here. And then after I get up, I would just check with the floor if I don't know, and just like say, hey, this happened. Did I handle it right? Um, and so, yeah, it's a good question. And it is really interesting, right? Like you're asking me for a rule. What I teach for an audition is you should call a floor in that situation, because in an audition, like I said, you want the supervising staff to know that you get it and that you're not going to be the one that makes their job harder. And, some supervisors, I guess, don't want to be called over for something they don't consider to be a floor call, but I don't think this falls in that category. Like, there are plenty of poker tournaments that will actually enforce that very, very strongly. Um, and all that said, I actually ask you, as someone thinking about this situation, if a tournament player shows someone who's not in the hand their cards before they fold, is it that big of a deal, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I do feel like we make a big deal out of a lot of stuff. Like I was dealing a PLO double board bomb pot tournament, a month or two ago. And in the bomb pot tournament, you start with, everyone gets four cards and they all make it. Every single person in the bomb pot tournament with four cards, a double board bomb pot tournament, they all make it to the flop. And there's two flops, right? So you're looking at something like this, and you're looking at something like this, right? And I guess there wouldn't be any muck, so we'll just pick that up. So in the double board bomb pot tournament, the action starts like this. So someone over here, right here, like the buttons over here, action starts right here. This person, this person, this person, this person, this person, and all these people hadn't acted, and this person has seen their hand and they fold. And that's actually common in the poker rooms that I've dealt in Dallas, for someone in a double board bomb pot tournament to fold really early. And there's a whole culture in tournaments, especially in places like California and to a degree Vegas, where they discourage that. They'll give penalties for people folding out of turn. But there's context here, right? Like in a PLO double board bomb pot, it can take 5 minutes for the action to get around the table and this person to fold a hand that they have zero, I'm talking 0% chance of winning. Okay. They could have, what would be the ideal 0%er right now, right? Like, whatever the answer is, this person could basically feel like I have 0% chance of winning. I don't want to be in this hand. I don't want to sit here and pay attention and wait until it's my turn. And we honestly support them. And that comes mostly from cash games. And in a tournament, I just let it happen. And then a player started complaining. And I was like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, we sort of have a culture in our poker rooms where in PLO double board bomb pot, we don't like punish someone if they just want to get out. We have the culture in cash games where they can just open fold. I know that it goes against some like tournament etiquette that's been universalized, but like here, it's a little bit of a different situation. You can end up getting stuck waiting, for something to happen, and then you have to remember your turn. Like the alternative for them to follow the rule would be to sit here, leave their cards like that, and then just like get up, not pay attention. Like it's so nitpicky to give someone a hard time in a double board PLO bomb pot for that. And I still offered for the guy if he wants to get the floor. Maybe I'll be corrected. Like you always want to communicate to the floor more casually, or communicate to the player casually, not saying I know exactly what the answer is here. It's more human than that, and that way, if you get corrected, it doesn't actually look bad. But yeah, so let's see. Melka says, not big deal to me, but other players accuse me for not tabling the card. I don't think I should unless they asked. Yeah, so that is officially the correct answer, right? So as the dealer in that case, we'll go back to your scenario. We'll take this back and we'll go here and we'll do some cards over here. And we'll go here, put them here so you can see them better. And I'll leave these cards here too, and we'll get rid of one of these boards. And now we have exited and we are into this person folding land. Um, so in this case here, let's say that it goes uh, $15, or in a tournament it would be like three, or yeah, say 300 in a tournament. This person calls, this person folds, and say we have a muck already. I always want it to look like the actual hand to the best of my ability. This person shows this person their hand as they're folding. As the dealer, when that happens, you take the cards and muck them. If somebody asked to see those cards before they get in the muck, then you put them aside and you would wait until the end of the hand. If someone in the hand saw them, you would expose them right away. And there's one little stipulation around that where if a player did not see them who acted on the hand, and somebody in the hand who's already acted has seen them, and there's another person behind who has not seen them, and has not acted, which you just take a second to think about that, then you would actually wait until after this person asks, and usually you just get the floor for that because that's a little bit rare and complicated for a dealer to hold. But if the dealer can remember all that, then you can be the one to initiate and deal with that. Yeah. But it's a good question, and I assume every time I get a question like that, that the thing that's happening is that the question is because somebody gave a dealer a hard time, and yeah, I mean those are brutal moments. Just a reminder, everybody, thank you all for being here. Weird Saturday night, right? I'm not usually on Saturday night, but I'm here tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time, tomorrow as well. And if you can just like that video, it doesn't really take anything away from you, and it helps with the algorithm, and I appreciate it. As many likes as I can are always appreciated. Um, so great question. I love that you had that question, and I ask you for more questions. Do you have anything else that you want? And also, like, these are the types of things that, like, one thing that I love about, the school that I'm about to be running is we're going to have a Zoom class, and when some person's getting feedback, like, everybody's going to be welcome to ask questions and gain insight, and we can go over examples together. And I mean, that's something I'm really looking forward to. I haven't gotten to do that stuff in a little while. My life hasn't just I haven't been teaching in groups as much. When I worked in casinos, I would teach in groups a ton. And so, very excited. Uh, Jay Gleason says, "Good stuff. Thanks. Hey, you're welcome. Happy to have you here." So, going back to green bicycles, do you have any tips on breaking down stacks, counting chips? So the and then Melka said he has a free YouTube video on cutting chips. So, of course, I forgot to question on a bomb pod as soon as I joined. Yes. So first of all, the video that I do is on counting chips. It's different than when somebody goes all in. I have some content about when somebody goes all in, how to count them down, but yes, I do is the answer, and I will show you that right now. So let's say that, actually, you know what? I'm going to put the deck in my hand and give somebody cards. So we'll give them cards, we'll give them cards, put this down here. We'll give them cards, and we'll say that there's a pot, and we'll say that we've got a flop. So the idea, and there I have a YouTube short where I just show this real quickly. I teach this in the content in the self-paced course, and we go over this beautifully in the live school. So here's the simple thing. There are standards for this, but the real thing is, how do I, as a dealer, present the chips as clearly as possible to somebody? Let me actually go like this. I just want to get a couple angles here. Pull this over here, and we'll go like this, and we'll go like this, so that we can have this a little bit better. All right. You guys can see me, and I'll try to keep it on the left side. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna try to keep it on the left side. Maybe I'll come up slightly. All right. So here we go. So tips on breaking down bets is essentially like when you're saying, do you have any tips on breaking down stacks, right? That's when somebody gets in, like gets their stack in or makes a big bet or something like that. So let's see, what can we see on the table? Can't see this. We can see this. All right. So if we'll give this player these chips. If this player were to, let me see, bet this amount right here, okay, I'm going to start breaking this down to the nearest 100. And this becomes a clean like 100 right here that everybody can see. And the idea here is we want this to make the game easier for the opponents in the hand and speed everything up and make it easier for the player who just made that bet to feel comfortable that you know what's going on. So the simplest way to do it is going to be like this, where you're basically breaking it down into 100 and then 35, right, like that. That's the easiest way to do it for surveillance, and everybody can see it. Um, some dealers will take the shortcut to go like this, where from the above view, it's a little hard to tell maybe that these are 3 chips high with one on the top. But everybody at the table is usually going to be used to seeing that. It's funny because, like, this is basically a craps thing, and craps a lot of the time will influence other games and other dealers when they work at the same casino, and then it starts becoming habit. The difference is in craps, you've got a mirror behind the like rail where you can like a boxman can actually see how high the stacks are, and we don't have that in poker. But surveillance has gotten a lot better now, so this is a little bit safer to do because surveillance can actually sometimes see, depending on the poker room, how many chips high these stacks are. It's pretty cool actually. um so yeah, so like you would do it like 135 like this, and then what I'll do a lot of the time is after I break this down, I just come up like this and I make that 100. And you know, this is the old surveillance way, and that's always going to be the best until told otherwise, I suppose. And this is also what you see a lot. But you know, if I'm teaching you and you're new, I would say to go like this. And you know, remember, you broke this whole thing down, you brought it back up, you cleared your hands, and now this is 135. Um, if this person, let's see, now were to go all in over here, and I just want to make sure we can see it. Yep. I would take these chips, and the rule of thumb here is you start with the largest denomination chip first, and then you work your way over to the next lowest denomination, and you try to keep it in hundreds whenever possible. So we're going to go 200, and actually when there's increments of 500, you try to keep it in 500s whenever possible. So we're going like this, it's 400. Then we're going to take this, and that's 505. And so I would stack this up. All right. And so I just broke this down. And now, after I count this whole thing out, I'm going to tell this person, we'll give an all in button too. Why not? I'm going to tell this person, you got 2, 3, 4, 505, right? Or you could just say 505, but it's nice to take them through it when you go through it. And a lot of poker rooms and casinos will ask you to splash that down like that. And then when this person calls, now it actually gets interesting because you've done such a good job that, let's say this person wants to put, like, they put all these chips in. You've done such a good job with this, you can literally take this stack of chips from them, right? I guess you can't see how much they have. They've got all this over here. Which way are we going? Oh, we got to go over here to see. All right. You know what? All right, fine. I'm going to get myself out of here. Close this up. Let's see. Why can't I click on here? It is. All right. So I gave it a shot. I guess it's just better to do it this way, though. That's fine. It was fun while it lasted. So now this player over here, they've got 300, and you know, they have a bunch of other red chips here. And instead of just breaking them down, this is already counted. So you can bump into it and then just pull this back over here. And then you can bump into this one and you can put a little 5 right there. And there you go. They still have this. So now you got 505. So the idea is just to display it as easily as possible. Large denomination chips first, and you know, over here. So what you wouldn't do is you wouldn't then stack this up like this. You always want to leave it as clean as possible, right? It was okay where it was. It was unintentionally a little bit hidden, so I would make it so the whole table could see. And yeah, the idea is you just like, the goal is to make it so that any poker player at the table, any surveillance person, any manager can come to the table and see exactly how much everything is. Um, So let's see. So that's a good question. And if you want any follow up with that, do you have any tips on breaking down stacks, counting chips? If you want any follow up with that, just ask what you were asking. Let's see. Talking to green bicycles, green with an A bicycles. So yeah, if you want any follow up with that, just ask. But I think that's probably what you were asking. Every once in a while, like I'll answer a whole question, thinking that I know what's being asked, and then I'll realize after that I don't, and that sucks. Let's see. Slud9, who was here yesterday, said, "Of course, I forgot a question on a bomb pot. Soon as I joined, oh, you had one to ask and then you forgot, huh?" Um, let's see. Melka says, "How about when someone does a string bet to raise? What exactly should I say as the dealer? Would you say that should be just a call?" Right. So, string bets are frustrating. String bets are like you the I understand the need for them. I really do. And I hear that some places in California don't actually have the same string bet rules that we used to have, but string bets are annoying. What'll happen is somebody will like bet 40 or something like that, and then the next person will, come out with 40, and then they'll want to raise like this, and um they won't be allowed to. And the reason that string bets exist, just so that we're clear, are string bets prevent people from doing this, where they think to themselves, okay, how much do I want to raise? And now they're looking at the rest of the table and they're thinking like, okay, so based on what I'm seeing as I'm putting money in, uh, my opponents don't have much, but they might call, but they're uncomfortable, and I've got a strong hand. So, like, that's what it prevents. It prevents somebody gaining unfair advantage information. And the reality is nowadays, because string bets are not allowed, people don't do that anymore. And the only people that string bet nowadays are the people who are recreational players that don't get it. And so, everyone ends up learning the hard way. In some places in California, I'm told, and I love this rule, I'm told that other players at the table have to call it a string bet. Um, and that's actually a great adjustment to that rule, in my opinion, that hasn't become universal, but I think easily could. But yeah, so basically what happens is when somebody string bets, and we've all seen it, they'll go like this. A lot of the time they'll do like, let me make sure it's on camera. Yeah. They'll do two stacks and then they come out with one and then they come out with the other. And as the dealer, you have to say, oh, you're allowed one forward motion. It's a string bet what you just did. And this is the amount that you put in, which becomes 55, which is a call of 40. And so then they feel dumb, they feel annoyed. Like, I would love to just let them be able to put that amount in. And being totally honest, I've been in games where I know every single player at the table and they don't want that person to have a bad experience. So like I've actually let that go before at the right table. A lot of tables, most tables I won't let that go. But like when you know everyone there, like there's another level to this sometimes. And when that player at that table, like afterwards, I just have like a, hey, just so you know, like you're not supposed to be able to raise like that. I need you to do one motion from now on. And if they ever do it again, like it's an absolute string bet every single time. But the true way to deal in, like if it's an audition or anything like that, you absolutely push the second amount back, you leave the correct amount out there, and then you tell them that was a string bet, you're only allowed one motion. There's different versions of that. Let's see. So yeah, as a dealer, the thing that you say is, oh, that was two motions. I can only allow the first chips that you brought out to be the bet, right? Something like that. Let me see. Jay Gleason says, "Is there a Cliff's Note simple summary of how to handle a multiple all-in scenario?" um, so I have in one of the live streams, I actually didn't go back and see which one, but in one of these live streams, I'm doing every single day. Uh, I did do a demonstration of a multi-way all-in. Someone asked me to do 6 people, and you could go back and watch that video from a few days ago. I think it was day 2. It might have been day 1. It was not day 3. It was not day 4. It was either day 1 or 2. And all you have to do on the video is you just like jump through and you'll see when I'm doing it. Like you'll totally see. It'll take you 2 minutes or less to figure out which one it is. But um, the simple explanation that I would give for how to handle multiple all-ins is when you've got multiple all-ins, let's say all the action's done. If there's more action coming, then it's a little bit different. But with all these all-ins and multiple action come, you find the shortest stack first, you break it down, you leave it broken down in front of the player. So let's say this player's all in for this amount right here. All right. And then if this player's all in and this player's all in and this player's all in, the next thing that you do is you get 45. You get that amount from everybody. Okay. Get that amount from everybody. So each going around the table in one direction, you leave this here. You get this amount from everybody and bring it to the main pot. This amount, bring it to the main pot. This amount, bring it to the main pot. And then the last thing you do is bring the original one to the main pot, and they've got their all in button. Okay. Then you go to the next smallest one and you do a similar thing. So it's like, let's say this person's all in for 105. We'll make it simple. Then you get the 105 from everybody, and you get the 105. And now you're going to start bringing it to this area where this person went all in. 105 goes to the area where this person's all in. All right. And like I said, the demo I did the other day is pretty good. If you want to get the course on YouTube or on truepokerdealer.com, you can get the course. And also, I teach this incredibly well and make sure you learn it all the way in the live school that's coming up. February 3rd is last day to get the early bird. The school starts on the 16th, 15 total people. That's all I'm taking. I want to make sure everyone gets the attention that they want. But right here, we've brought in these all-ins, and we can really see that this pot's correct. We build this pot, and then we go to the next one and go to the next one. So that's sort of the Cliff Notes version. And it was a quicker explanation than I've probably given in the past. I sort of fear sometimes that if I give a real short explanation, it's going to possibly um, cause somebody to miss a detail or something like that that's important. But that's the gist of it. So you just do that for the next one, do that for the next one. And you got to remember who's in for what pot. And like if you wanted, this person was in for this first pot over here, so you could put 1 chip in their direction. This person's in for this next pot, you could put 2 chips in their direction, and so on. And you just remember, first pot they're eligible only for that, next pot they're eligible, and then during the showdown, I think that makes sense. So those are the Cliff's Notes. Also, it's been a very long time since I've heard the term Cliff's Notes. Um, that ages both me and you a little bit, and it's pretty funny. Let's see. Next one. Oh, if I can, though, I came on this video today. It's not poker, but cab. They really trespassed you for allegedly counting if you had paid for a room there. Where? Um, oh, you had a Yeah, so if you try to put a link in the chat, I have a pinned chat, and I say the True Poker Dealer website because I've learned, I don't know if this is true for me as the owner of the channel, but I just like assume it is. I've learned that if you put any link in there, they'll remove the comment. So yeah, so if you said something else, I don't really understand it, but let me see. Player being trespassed for card counting, can that really happen? Not poker, I know. Oh yeah, yeah. Absolutely. If somebody counts cards in blackjack, I've been a pit boss in table games years ago, and I had to learn how to count cards to a degree in order to be able to identify if somebody was counting cards. And yeah, I mean they'll tell someone that you can't play here anymore, and I actually had a little video about that too, just for the heck of it. But yeah, like what it's sort of a process. Like if you suspect somebody's counting as a table game supervisor, you call up the surveillance in some poker rooms or some table games pits. You call up the surveillance, and then surveillance will run back the tape from when that person's been there And they'll start doing the count with them, identifying, oh, are they varying their bet in an advantageous way where they clearly know what they're doing, or is it a coincidence? And so if they determine to a degree that they're satisfied with that someone's counting cards and they're worried about it in the long run impacting them in the casino, like if somebody's counting cards, but then they go blast off in Ultimate Texas Hold'em or in slots, I don't know that they're going to walk a person out for that, honestly. But if somebody's counting cards and they're just like hammering the casino, or they believe that the person will just take a lot of money from the casino, then they basically tell them, see you later. And I just, there's a part of me that thinks it's hysterically ironic because the entire nature of table games, one of the reasons that I teach poker and not table games is because poker, while a lot of people do gamble at the poker table, there's a lot of people that treat it like a game of skill, which it can be for those that treat it that way, right? Poker is a game where you're dealt random cards, and you and your opponents both have random cards, and so you're trying to take advantage of your opportunities to make money off of other players, and you're trying to take advantage of your opportunities to reduce the amount that you lose to other players in scenarios where the randomness sets you up to be second best and maybe you think you get it in. So like that's the game of poker in a nutshell. But table games isn't like that. Table games is you versus the house. And as a you versus the house game, the house has an advantage where every hand that you play in table games, you're slowly going to dwindle down, because it's like if the house advantage is 5% and you bet $1 that's 5 cents that you're basically throwing away in the long run, and the long run's not really that long. So the irony of all this with telling people that if you count cards you can't play anymore is they have the legal right to trespass anybody that they want. They do. And I liked working in table games. Like it's a fun, exciting feeling, but underneath it all, I'm aware that there's just a whole dynamic that's built for the house to make money off of the players, that the players don't actually have a chance in table games. Poker's different. That's part of why I like it. But I mean, the irony to me here is the entire casino system is built where they have an advantage against you. So when you finally get an advantage against them, you can't play anymore. That's the thing that's like, man, that's crazy to me. And also, like as in poker, that's what poker players are trying to do. They're basically like poker players are actually good poker players are the house in a poker table. The pros are the house at a poker table. It's good for you guys to know this. Whether you're playing poker for fun, trying to get better at the game, having fun with it, whatever it is. Like it's just good to know. The poker players at the table are the house, like in the metaphor of table games. They're the ones that have the advantage. They create the advantage over and over and over again against the other players. The actual house is just the facilitator of the game that takes money from the pots or takes money per hour from the person, depending on the structure of how the poker room makes money. It's a totally different thing, and it's pretty interesting. But that's an interesting question, and yeah, there's your answer. So, and also, like, I understand if your business is to have an advantage against others as a casino, like in table games or slots, if someone figures out how to beat you using your own structure, then yeah, you tell them to go because you don't want to lose money. It's not why you opened the casino. By the way, I always think about this, like casinos are fascinating, fascinating, fascinating buildings to me. Like, where else do regular people have access for free to walk into enormous, enormous buildings with all kinds of spectacular designs in them and everything? Like, maybe shopping malls, but like casinos, like you can just walk into a casino and you can just like look at anything. You can go up to different floors sometimes. You can interact with all kinds of stuff, and it's fundamentally free. It's just so enticing to actually spend money there, but it's really there. It's a cool concept, honestly. Oh, somebody's message was deleted. I always hate when I miss that. um let's see. Jay Gleason says making multiple side pots for all ins is where I always get lost. Yep. I definitely suggest that you take a look on one of my previous live streams and look at that. um let me see here. So you, uh, Green Bicycle said thank you. So it sounds like you're satisfied with the answer. Jay Gleason says, "Are you on TikTok or Instagram?" I am, but the real place that I am truly, truly is here on YouTube. Like my YouTube channel covers just about everything. my website, my truepokerdealer.com website is the place where like my courses really live, and that's where the live school is going to be. So, I'm proud to say I have a poker dealer school now. If you're just tuning in right now and hearing this for the first time, school starts on February 16th. Early bird ends on the 3rd, and there's only 15 spots for my school. It's all through Zoom. The entire class will be on Zoom together, learning how to deal poker for me. I'm incredibly good now. I've had years of practice teaching over video. I'm incredibly good at this. I'm really excited about this new thing that I'm offering, and be one of the first people in my school, right? it Forever you will be one of the first people, one of the first students if you join this now. And I have so much to give, honestly. I'm very excited about it, and it's a great change of pace for me, and like this is going to be an ongoing thing. But if you want to like deal the World Series of Poker, this is the one to get in, like the one that starts on the 16th, because we'll be done in time for you to get that job at the World Series. So um yeah. Let's see. We got. Are you on TikTok or Instagram? Yeah, yeah. So just to say it, True Poker Dealer on both of those places is still the name. And TikTok, I just sort of like mess around, honestly. I mean, I am there, and you could reach out to me there. I don't like monitor that closely. I monitor my YouTube comments, my email pretty closely. And TikTok, I'm like I come and go. It's an experimental place, and also I'm a little bit newer to creating shorts, which is essentially all that TikTok is. And it's just a whole different skill set. And I feel like I know how to do it now. I've been practicing for like 6 months, and I have another YouTube channel that I practice on called True Sports Card Collector, which is just a thing I mess around at. That's where I really do my experiments. But I mean, even there, with almost no followers, I was able to get like 100,000 views on a video, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, I just Instagram I've started a lot with, and it's good. It's just I don't have a huge follower base there yet. And man, it's so hard, like as a one individual person. And nowadays, Haley, my partner, helps me all the time, and I love receiving that from her. And it's good for her too, because when I bring money in, it goes to her too, right? But it's like the two of us, it's just so much work to monitor all these different social media channels, like so much work. And so I do my best is the answer. But I think I posted on Instagram a decent amount recently. But yeah, I don't like, I should be looking more at the comments and questions there, but I just don't get around to it as much as I'd like. YouTube and my email are where I'm looking the most. And also in like if you join the truepokerdealer.com course and I get messages there, I see that too. But yeah, it's in my email. Let's see. Oh, dude, thanks. Spark Notes, not Cliff Notes. Spark Notes. I think I've heard that term, but I don't actually know. That's pretty funny. I mean, I feel like nowadays it's ChatGPT, right? Um, let's see. Agreed. Kind of sad that a player can be 86th, which means banned from a casino just because he's a skilled player. Yeah. Um, Thanks, Mark. Now I hope I can remember my poker question during this live. If you, I think you might have typed it in the chat yesterday. You can actually go back to that live stream, just open a separate window, and there's a button you can press that will put the chat back in there. So you might be able to find it if you asked it yesterday. Um, yeah, they're making sure they have every advantage. The casino, yes. Where else? Racetracks. Uh, First timer here. Good work here, Mark. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Um, TikTok is the place for live content. Oh, interesting. I mean, I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess nowadays more people are live on TikTok, whatnot. I mean, it's video sales. It's really cool adding that dimension to video, but I don't know. My feelings about whatnot are a little bit like uh it's just hard to feel like everybody's got integrity all the time, even in a platform. It's like I don't know, it hurts a little bit, I guess. But that's interesting. So you're essentially suggesting, without saying it, to go live on TikTok. I wonder, maybe I could figure out how to broadcast in more than one place at a time when I do stuff like this. Um, let's see. Melka says, "How about this? On the river, two players. One went all in, and the other one showed his card. I assume that is a fold, but he argued he can still make a call. What would be your call?" Let me demo this. So we're on the river. And let me see. Let me get this out of here. And sounds like it's heads up. And I'll put this in the muck, and let me make a mug just to make it a little more realistic. And so one went all in and the other one showed his card. So we're heads up. This player goes all in right here. Say that they put all their chips out to make this example as clean as possible. Let me just make sure we can see this. Yep. And then over here, this player shows a card, right? Make sure we can see this too. Yep. So in this case right here, I got to ask the question, is it tournament or cash game? In a tournament, this is supposed to be a penalty. And this is one that I do lean way more toward always calling a supervisor for in a tournament for this, because the theory again is that everything that happens in the tournament impacts everybody else at the table in the tournament too, and in the other tables as well. In a cash game, a lot of poker rooms say that this is totally fine. So, and actually in 2005, Jamie Gold, who ended up winning the main event, the World Series of Poker main event, he would do this when he was heads up in tournament. They used to allow it back then, and then by no 2006, it was either 5 or 6. Then the next year they actually stopped allowing it. That was what changed it, because they felt like it was angling, and I don't know, they just didn't like it. Oh, hold on. Showed his card. You said card, so so you're saying cards. So shows both cards. So for me, here's the deal. If a player puts it face up by them, I'm usually in a cash game, I'm usually going to interpret that as poker players in a cash game are heads up. This doesn't have the same impact as it does in tournament to future hands. Yeah, you could say they end up with more or less chips, but anybody can buy back in, whatever. So in a cash game, this is actually a part of the poker culture. It's like when you're learning to play poker, you a lot of the time think to yourself, um, what are the other people doing at the table that's cool and gives an advantage? And this is one of those things when you're heads up that I would say more people do this in poker because they think that it's an advantage and they just think it's cool to do than they actually know what they're doing in order to gain any type of a read or advantage. Um, and so that being said, it's sort of a part of cash games. So I would say this: if your poker room has a rule not to allow this, then that's totally different. Most allow it. Most poker rooms allow a player to flip up their cards when they're heads up, even before they've made a decision. So what that means is that this player over here and this player over here both sort of are familiar with that dynamic. And so I'm not going to take these flipped up cards unless they flip them up like this and throw them toward me. If they throw them toward me, I'm going to start picking them up. I'm going to kill them like that, and then I might bring them in here. And it would really take them telling me, wait, 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 to have anything change about that. And then if they did throw them in here like this, and then I picked them up and they said stop, I would put them down, and then it would probably become a floor call at that point. Um, you know, every once in a while though, you get weird stuff. Like someone might go like this and say call, maybe quietly. I mean, that's why in this case you don't grab them that quickly. You just sort of like casually do it, and you want to tap them before you kill them. Um, but you know, there's context, and I mean the truth is when you become an experienced dealer you almost always just know what's going on, truthfully. But when you're newer, just think of it as a general rule of practice. If they flip them up and they keep them in front of themselves, generally speaking. So I don't know what it's like at your poker room. I don't know the history of what the players have experienced. I don't know the history of the floor calls. I don't know the history of how supervisors have talked to the players about these different situations. One of the most brutal things in a poker room is when a supervisor or shift manager or director who runs the poker room sets a ridiculous precedent. But when it happens, it happens. And now you've got every player in the poker room talking about this crazy thing that happened where someone just flipped their cards up right in front of them, and the dealer took them and they were determined to be folded, and they were just like, wait, I didn't fold my hand, but they said you shouldn't have flipped them up. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that happens, and the precedents come from that. So if you're in a room that has a dynamic like that, then like I can't speak to that. But generally speaking, the game of poker has said in more recent times in cash games that flipping your cards up and just leaving them in front of you is actually totally fine. And that's why we don't bring cards out of the muck, right? Um, that's funny. And that also shows that I did a good job of mucking them, right? Uh, so of course I would never touch the muck in an actual thing. I'm just trying to get back to the point that I was making. So most of the time I'm just going to allow this to be a live hand. And now I'm curious, what did they say to you? Cash game, and he showed both cards. Like, yeah, what was the result of that experience that you had? What did they say to you? And um, yeah, like give me some more insight here, because I mean these things are nuanced and interesting, and we have like sort of general guideline rules that we use in the industry, and every single room has a different mentality about how they enforce the rules to their players and all that stuff. Um, so let's see. Um, yeah, Jay Gleason says interesting. I feel like I see this cards up move all the time, right? So if there's three players in the hand, I'm gonna tell the players, oh, you can't do that. And sometimes they'll even have a scenario where there's two players, like one player's all in, and then there's two players on the side. And then they sometimes think that you can still flip your cards up. And I actually say, oh, no, 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 you can't. In a cash game, tournament, of course not. Cash game, I say, no, no, you can't do it. You have another person in there. And they don't understand it a lot of the time. They're like, why? We're heads up here. And, I just explain very, very simply, like, the outcome of what happens with you two impacts this player. Like if you end up calling or folding or something like that, they may win or lose when otherwise they wouldn't have, and it impacts a lot. So we don't allow that. Um, and then sometimes they still don't get it, and you just say, "All right, turn your card over." Like, we don't allow that. Please don't do it again. And if they resist even beyond that, then you get a floor. But you almost never have to do that, especially if you know how to talk to people. Um, all right, here is the question you were trying to ask yesterday. Oh, can you do a quick demo on double board bomb pot for PLO pot limit OMA to make sure it flows smoothly? So I actually have a free video, and I will do this now. But also there's a free polished video on my channel. If you just search True Poker Dealer PLO bomb pot, something like that. You'll be able to see a complete demo on that. It's like a 20-minute video or something, and I go over the whole thing. I was just like, you know what, I could put this in the course, but like so many players want to know about this too. So I actually made a video, but I'll give you a demo of that here as well. So let me see. Let me just stack these up for a sec. The advantage to me doing an additional demo, even though I already have an existing video on YouTube about this, is that you may now see what I do, and you may ask me something here right now, and you chose to ask that, and so I'm going to show you. So let's go like this. All right. So let me just double check here on this camera. Oh, I got this. Can we see here? Yes, we can. Can we see here? Sorta. So we want to put this over here. Let me give them a couple black chips. Great. And then we can see this over here a little bit. Great. And then this is good. This is good. This needs to come out slightly. All right. And this will come out. I'll put these in here. All right. So I'm going to deal a PLO double board bump pot. So first thing, this is just interesting. I'll share it here. Some tables with PLO double board bomb pot, um, like really what's happening is you might be at a 2-5 no limit game. You might be at a 1-2 with a $5 call PLO game. You might be at a 2-5 PLO game. You might be at a 1-3 no limit game. You might be at a bomb pot table, whatever. In the non-bomb pot games, sometimes, and it's like that this where I work, the very first hand when the dealer sits down is a double board PLO bomb pot. When that's the case, a lot of the time, wherever the button is, just coincidentally from the hands coming around, that's who gets the button. And then sometimes you'll see, I don't have one here, but you'll actually see a button that says the words bomb pot on it. And that's going to rotate around the table every single time there's a bomb pot. the next person whose turn it would be, it goes the opposite direction of the regular button. The next person whose turn it would be would throw that bomb pot button out here. Again, this is an all-in button. I'm just using it as a demo. And the person with the dealer button would actually like put this in their cup holder, and this is going to be the button for that hand. And so oh, actually, you know what? I want to do this for real. So let's say that this is just a regular scenario and or it's a bomb pot game or whatever, and we didn't have any bomb pot button or anything like that. So I'm gonna do this. Basically, there's a back when tournaments used to have antes in them, which some of them still have. Now it's a big blind ante. We used to have the dealers shuffle the deck and get it all ready before the cut, and then you collect the antes. So now, let's say that it's $15 per person. It might be 10, it might be 15, it might be 5. It's all different all the time. You just have everybody put that in, and they're usually pretty good about it. And if somebody doesn't want to play, fine. We don't force them to play unless your room has that rule for some reason. I've never seen that before. So, let's say that we didn't force this person to play, and it's just like this. So as the dealer, there's some shortcuts and stuff like that you can do, but the simplest, most straightforward procedure is going to be to collect all these bets. And my job right now is to remember that this player did not pay. If you want, you can do it differently than this. I've done this so many times that I can remember who did not pay, and it's not a big deal. But some dealers, they want to put something like that there so they don't deal to them. Some dealers will leave the 15 everywhere that paid and then pitch the cards out. Like whatever your method is fine. But now we cut and we just start dealing the handout. So we go like this, and we just get everybody their cards. And because there's no players actually collecting the cards, I'm just gonna spend a little bit more time during my pitch making sure that they go to the right people. And then from here, we go right to the double board flops because the action here starts on the flops. And, I've got a messy pot here, and that's fine actually. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to stack that as I go. Uh, and yeah, so like it'll be this person's turn first. And so, if they like their hand, I'll take a quick look just for me, um, which they don't. This person will check. We'll say this person checks. If this person bets pot, I just have to remember it was 15 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As I brought the bets in, if I wasn't teaching you, I probably would have said 7 players. And one thing that happens, like when you deal bomb pots regularly, 15 times 7 is no longer math. It's memorized 105 because you've just done it so many times. So they say pot and you say 105 and then they throw it out and then it's the next person's turn and so on, and it's a pot limit game. And then sometime during the during the hand you would stack this up, and the rule of thumb for stacking this up is you don't want to stack it up when your hand is in someone's way who needs to be able to see the board. So right now, if it's this person's turn, I'm not going to stack it up because they can't see through me. When it's this person's turn, I can stack it up out of their way. And when it's these people's turn, I can stack it up, and it's really easy. And you just get to it when you can get to it. If everyone's throwing chips in the middle, you get to it later. If you need to get to it at the very end of the hand, you get to it at the very end of the hand. It is what it is. But you have an integrity as a dealer not to block people's view. It's one of the most annoying things when a dealer's blocking a player's view, especially when like they're a 2-5 no limit player and they don't play PLO a lot, and now all of a sudden they're trying to figure out 2 from my hand and 3 from the board twice. Oh my god, like they can't even figure it out. So that's the basic demo on double board bomb pot. I guess like so you just let the action go around. Maybe I'll just finish it out. We'll just do it real quick and simple. Sometimes I actually move my muck to this side for this. Just depends on where I have room. I might move my board up in the middle of the hand and just move my muck over like that. And yeah, just depends what makes sense. We'll say this person calls, and we'll say this person calls. Get those big chips in front, and this one folds. I already saw them, so now we're gonna bring this to the middle, and we're gonna bring the turns. And so if this player says pot, we know that this is 420. This is 105 times 4. And again, that one's relatively simple, but that one's memorized too because as a dealer we do that so much when we deal bomb pots. So they say 420, or we could just say they check, they check, they check. So you get to see how it plays out, and then we'll say that they all check again. By the way, if this is your first hand of the down, a lot of the time you're gonna count the stub at the end of this. When you get to a river and a bomb pot, that is a beautiful time to count your stub. 1, 2, 3, because this is an extra five. So normally you count in eights, and we've talked about this stuff before, and I have content about this on the YouTube channel that's free. The bomb pot I talked about counting this stuff too, but you normally do counts of eight, and so instead of eight to start, it's going to be three, and then there should be four cards left over for every player that you did not deal in. So if you dealt 9 people in, you're going to have 3 cards left over in a PLO bomb pot. Then there'll be another 4 cards for every player that didn't get a hand, which is what you see right there. And you would count it just like this right on top of itself. You would just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but all in your head, and then cut card on top. And then when it's time to show down, the players show their hands like so. Okay, look at that. It's actually some strong hands here. What do you know? So right off the bat, so as a dealer, I used to teach dealers dealing bomb pot to sort of start looking at the board, and by looking at the board, you can start figuring out what the nuts is and start figuring out what hands people might have. But what I've actually started teaching, and what I think to myself now, is turn it into a game where I care about the hand of poker being played, and I wonder who's winning and who has what. And like by investing myself in the game, I'm now like, okay, so I know for sure when someone rolls over 9, 10 that they've got the nuts up here. There's no possible flush. You can see the suits up there pretty well, right? Yeah. I might zoom in at a little bit later. But and so over here, I don't see any queen jack because that would be the nuts down here. And so I'm sort of on to like what's the next best thing, and I see the 3 kings over here. And so there you go. So these guys are gonna chop. This one doesn't have anything. I just sort of double check, but I mean I know what's available here. So I kill this hand, and then we go and we chop this up. So largest denomination's closer to me, and we chop like that, and there they go. Then you take them, and if it's a bomb pot game where all the hands are bomb pot, then the button would move, and if it's not a bomb pot game, then the button probably would not move. So how satisfying was that? Did you get what you needed? That's how the bomb pot hand is going to go. But thank you for that question, for that demo. And let's see. And so now let's see. It is 8:07 Eastern. 90 minutes are how long I typically do the live streams for. And that means I got another like Michael Jordan minutes, 23 minutes left. And so anybody has any questions, comments, anything you want to chat about, um, feel free to put it in the chat, and it makes my life easier. I always appreciate when people have comments or questions or anything like that for me in the chat. Oh yeah, thanks. All right, so you got what you need out of this, and yeah, if you want more detail on double board bomb pot, PLO and Hold'em, I actually have a Hold'em video for that as well. It's a different game, you can go on my YouTube channel, which you're already on, and you can see that. Um, so yeah, that's double board bomb pot, and it's nice to deal, and sometimes it's a lot of work because it's just like a lot to do as a dealer. There's definitely more to do as a poker dealer dealing PLO double board bomb pot than there is like no limit hold'em. Although I will say that the 2-5 no limit hold'em games sometimes, or 5-10 in some places, those games tend to play very fast. And so even though it's hold'em, that also can take a lot out of you. But I mean, it's a good thing, right? More hands is more tips. So it all depends. I enjoy the dealing the bomb pot games in Dallas very much, and if that ever changes, it changes. But for now, like the players that tend to play that game are really the type of people that I enjoy, and yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, so see if you're just joining me, throw something in the chat, ask me anything. I am here to chat with you. I'll be here today and tomorrow. I'm doing 7 p.m. This is a part of me basically announcing to the world. I'm doing 8 days in a row where I live stream as a way to announce to the world that I have a poker dealer school now. And you can join me. And there's only 15 spots in my school, and it starts on February 16th. Goes for 6 weeks. Plus, I do have 2 additional weeks for anyone that needs the extra time. And yeah, early bird ends on February 3rd on Tuesday. At midnight is the last moment that you can get the early bird discount. And this is all through Zoom. The whole class is in Zoom. I'm going to be there teaching. You'll all be there. And um, like, I know exactly how to teach via video. I've been doing it for years, and it is really effective. I learned in a in-person dealer school, and I can say for sure that my use of video in the teaching of it, just like professional athletes use video in order to correct themselves and see, oh, this is what happened, this is what I do. Like, my use of video is excellent. I'm incredibly practiced at it, and I feel really proud to be offering an at-home complete poker dealer school for people where you can totally learn from scratch, or you can jump in if you're like sort of like, it's even good for somebody that knows it a little bit, knows poker a little bit, or even someone that's like taken some of my course or like 2/3 of the way there. Because even though I'm going to be going over everything in sequence, like when it's your turn for the one-on-ones in front of the class, if you're advanced, we talk about wherever you're at. It's totally fine. And they're all going to be really interested to see it, even the beginners. So, um, yeah, I mean, I can't say enough how excited I am to start this school. And also, I'm here to chat with you guys about anything today and tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Monday and Tuesday are the last days I'm doing these everyday live streams. Those are at 2 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah. What do you guys want to talk about? Somebody in the chat, throw something in there. Anything about poker. It could be about any topic. I mean, I like all kinds of stuff. You can ask me for my opinions about anything. I'm very open. My mom does watch a lot of these live streams. So, I mean, I'll still answer anything, but it'll just, you might get a red face out of me. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for being here. I'm also curious, like, do you like the Saturday night time? This is unusual for me. I've never done anything like this on a Saturday night. Let's see. I think personal dealing, any type of poker would be better than, say, craps. There's a lot going on at those tables, it feels like. Well, so I've dealt craps a little bit. I've never been good enough to handle more than like 3 players on my side of the table when I'm dealing base. Stick, I could do pretty well, although there's a lot of memorization in the payouts for things that it just takes a lot of experience in order to really build up. But um, craps is like, it's very, craps school is very fun. Like, the class is very fun. Craps dealing when you're new is a little bit overwhelming if there's a lot of people on your side, but usually with a good box, you can just sort of keep up with it. It's okay. Um, Once you get good at it, though, I imagine that craps is as satisfying as anything. People in the industry call it dice, and I mean, like, just the fine dexterity skills that you develop as a craps dealer. Uh, it's just like a work of art sometimes for dealers that get to that level. So the journey to becoming good can be a little bit intense. I mean, poker is way harder than blackjack, for instance. I've dealt blackjack. I've dealt roulette. Roulette is like, it's a little intense and fun as you're getting up to the moment of when you get good enough to do it, and then you're just like, oh, I got this sort of. But yeah, craps is definitely the most sophisticated type of dealing, and um, I've got nothing but respect for experienced craps dealers that bring it. Like, it's actually amazing to watch them. That's one thing too, is an experienced craps dealer is not just going to make the casino money because they get more rolls of the dice out. They're going to make the casino money because the regulars love playing with them because it's so fun. I talk about the 3 stages of poker dealing. Learning to pass your audition is stage one. After you get the job, learning to get up to speed and get all the mechanics and everything and your instincts is stage two. And stage three is being able to really resonate with the table and like be there and just get in this zone with everybody that's playing where you guys are just flowing, and it's unique every time. So there's a whole skill set around that. as a craps dealer, if you can get that table into that zone, especially with a good crew, and you guys hit that flow state, oh my God, do the regulars love it. Like they love it. It goes from worrying about a craps dealer feeling like somebody might accidentally say seven and then it's going to be handled poorly, or like the dealer might accident like the dealer on stick might accidentally flick over the dice and accidentally show a seven or something like that. Like it goes from worrying about those things that you're superstitious about as a player to just being in this complete state of enjoyment, even if the dice are landing bad, like you're happy. That's what a good craps crew does. So there's a lot to be said for dealing craps, and also I never got to that stage, but I did work in a casino and table games, and I even was a box sometimes for the not huge action like daytime action, but like I was in the casino when these dealers were doing their thing, and I've been to other places where the dealers have been doing their thing, and it's a special thing when a craps dealer crew is on point. Special, special, special. Like there's charisma in the stick calls. There's charisma in the way that the chips are laid out. Like they're just like hitting everything, but they're drop cutting all of it, right? So they're coming out and they're just like I it's been so long. It's been over 10 years, right? So all that stuff is just so satisfying as a craps dealer. But yeah, there's a lot to it. It takes a lot more. Um, Let me see. Melka says all craps dealers I know love it, but it seems complicated to me. Yeah, I mean it's the most complicated game to deal, and it's not close. I mean that's just the truth of it. That's one of the reasons why I really loved coming up in a casino that it was a small casino in Washington State. They have so many tribes out there, so many, and so many small casinos as a result. And I got exposed to like every single game in the big casinos. Uh, a lot of the table games dealers, all right, today you're dealing Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and you deal Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and then there might be a breaker that comes around every so often. You get a break, and it's literally like the Ultimate Texas Hold'em table for you. That's you dealing that like your whole shift. When you're not on break, you come back to it. In a small casino, like a Washington State small casino, you're not dealing one thing. You're rotating around in a string, dealing all kinds of stuff. Usually, the small casinos are going to pool their tips in order to make it more fair. And so the dealers don't mind. Like, and then there's some dealers that they love being on dead spreads where there's no action, and some dealers love actually dealing instead of doing nothing. And for me, I really loved getting experience and learning all the different games. Like, it would be Pai Gow for an hour and 20, and then take a 20-minute break, and then blackjack for an hour, and then take a 20-minute break, and then it just keeps rotating. And like I would be like, okay, I hope that I get this when I come back in. And sometimes I'd be stuck on 3 card poker, and I'd be like, they're playing $5 a hand. It's not interesting. Although now they've added some side bets to that. This is like 2007, 2008, 2009 is when I dealt table games. I really did like it though. Um, let's see. You say I used to deal poker too, but started up doing something else now. Another passion of mine, restaurant. But my very first table, I had a misdeal, and boy, did a cold sweat hit me. Yes, but the table was cool about it before I really panicked. Yeah, I mean, we've all had that. I had my it was like my second day ever dealing, and I was a trained table games dealer who was sort of taught a shorthand poker dealing class, if that makes sense. Like because I was already a dealer at the casino, they sort of just like, you know, said, all right, we're going to do a poker dealing school. If you want to be in it, come on. It's a little bit each day. And they tried to actually set it up for the dealers on their schedule. Basically, they would just run a dealer school for already existing table games dealers that was like set up around everybody's schedule that wanted to be in it, which is a cool thing. And it was sort of a crash course slash uh, I learned a lot in the class, and then I learned more on the job actually. And learning on the job was a little intimidating. It was a little tough, but also like I knew poker. I used to play poker in casinos. I used to play in Foxwoods, a couple of years before I got that job in Washington State. And uh, the second day I was ever a dealer, I remember there was an experienced dealer who I knew that he was an experienced poker dealer from another place. They just felt like coming to our poker room, and we were full that night. We had a 2-4 no limit game. We had 3 tables in the whole poker room, and it would fill up on Friday nights. maybe Saturday nights, one of the two nights. And I was one of the dealers there, and I felt really good. I was like, oh, this is great. And I'm dealing the hand out, and the hand ends, and he'd been there for like two hands, and the button was in front of him. And I don't know, I just like, I was ignorant and didn't understand. And I told him, hey, can you move the button for me? Uh, because I just felt like I was treading water, trying to keep up with everything that was going on and all the players' expectations of me, even though I was a new dealer, like they didn't care. And now I know how to communicate to people like, hey, just let me figure this out for a second, you know. But he moved the button for me, and then he got up and he told my manager that I'm the reason he's leaving today because I made him work when he wasn't at work. And in retrospect, it was ridiculous of me to ask him to move the button. And also, like, you can tell the mental state of people in that part of the country if that's their response to something like that. Like, literally, you drove all the way there. You're choosing to leave when a dealer says, "Hey, can you move the button for me?" Who's brand new and you know it. Just, I mean, it was funny, but it was totally a reflection of how like tight the culture was of the people back then. This was over a decade ago. Um, but yeah, like when when you're new and you're at a table and something goes wrong and you make a misdeal, that can be really hard. And also, when you look back on it later, it's sort of like funny. I mean, honestly, which is why you're bringing it up and saying LOL, right? Because as the dealer there, you're panicking, especially if there's a little bit of negative energy from somebody or something like that. And then as the like, I mean, you're a new dealer. Yeah, it's intense. Melka says that sounds familiar. Yeah, every dealer's had that feeling. Also, in your first audition, like my very first audition was actually a table games audition. I As soon as it was done, like I did well and I got the job, but as soon as it was done, I had zero memory of it. It was like a pure blackout feeling for me. Like I could not remember it because it just felt so intense. Like, oh my God, I've just been in school for weeks, um, learning how to do this, and my livelihood depends on me getting this job. And they had me do my first ever audition to actual players. And I mean, it's just like, it's an intense feeling. And that's part of why, like, in my live school, if you join my live school and you're one of the 15 spots coming up, you're going to get auditioned by me over and over again. And I'm going to talk to you and treat you like it's a real audition and we're not in a classroom. And whenever I do that in one-on-ones with people, which I do tons of video one-on-ones, I do some in person when I happen to be in Dallas and it works out. By giving you that feeling and experience, now you're used to the feeling of an audition, and you do that a couple times with me. When you go to that first audition, it feels way easier, like way easier. But also, like, to the point of how intense it is for somebody when they mess up at their very first table. It's a true thing that from the time that you pass your audition and get hired to the time you actually deal your first table, like they're supposed to give you training, and we can say that that's the casino's responsibility. But what I teach my students and what I teach people who are like watching my content is you need to be responsible for your own learning because they do not train you to the degree that you would expect before you get your first dealer job. They don't. Like they don't tell you what it's like, all the details that you think you should be told. You're literally at no poker room ever going to get all of them. Like I used to teach those trainings to the new hires and I would forget stuff too. There's so much stuff. You just keep putting it in your notes, putting it in your notes. But then like we all say it so quickly and there's all these reasons why you need to be responsible for it. Excuse me. Whew. Um so yeah, so I teach people in my classes, in my school, and beyond. Be responsible for your own learning. You're your own teacher. I'm your mentor. Your poker room is your mentor. You're your own teacher, and that actually helps a lot. uh I should bring tissues to my area for the future. Oh well. But yeah, so definitely appreciate everybody being here. You know what? I'm gonna go get a tissue, and I'll be back in a sec. And drop a question in the chat for me for when I get back, and I will answer it. We've got 7 minutes left until the live stream's end, and we're right back. All right, I'm back. Thank you for waiting. Um, oh, so let's see. Is there anybody in there right now? I know that it's Saturday night, people have lives, right? But is there anybody that's in the chat right now that is thinking about joining the poker dealer school, the True Poker Dealer School, live on Zoom and being one of those 15 spots and is just like sort of on the fence about it. I'm curious. I'm not going to try to talk you into it. I'm just literally curious. Um, I haven't. There were a few people the last time who were thinking about it, but yeah, I'm just curious if there's anybody that's actually thinking about being in school that's in the chat right now. Marc knows all the struggles dealer faces and work on those, which makes you special. Not every teacher does that. Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think that being true poker dealer means that I'm uh like the best poker dealer in the world, blah 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 blah. The truth is, the only way that I can do this where I teach people is I needed to be a supervisor and shift manager and a dealer and so like the skill set in order to be able to teach people is practice teaching, right? Which as a dealer you're not really teaching people, you're not responsible for that. You're responsible for that as a supervisor, shift manager, sometimes as a director, stuff like that. And yeah, and then now I've been dealing most recently, and i've learned I've learned a ton going back to being dealer that I've used as I teach people, like so much context. Like I used to have arguments with friends of mine who were dealers. They would deal in other parts of the country, and like I have this one friend who's also a poker playing pro, and he would tell me that like the one rule that he does not care about and does not enforce in his poker room and his casino is the max buy-in rule. And what I mean by that is if it says 1,000 max and someone puts 1,100, he just doesn't care. If it says 500 max and someone puts 1,500, he does care. Okay, I'm just saying about making it exact, exact, exact. And I used to tell him all the time, I'm like, dude, you cannot allow that. Like, it's not, their players not allowed to buy in for that amount. Like, you can't allow that. And now that I've been a dealer in poker rooms, like, there's just an edge where I actually understand where he's coming from. I still almost always correct it, but I understand where he's coming from, and I definitely ignore it sometimes when it's like 4 in the morning. The players are completely asleep. The person that did it, if I say something to them, they're not even gonna like. I swear to you, some people are so into the poker that they wouldn't even understand. Hey, you put an extra 100 in there. They'd be like, "What are you talking about?" I would have to then say it's 1,000 max and you have like 1,100, they'd be like, what are you talking about? I'd have to then count down their whole like it's just it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. There's not a single person at the table that cares about that extra 100 or that extra 50. If it's 500, okay, I think, but it's really interesting how much I've learned being a dealer, especially choosing to deal the overnight shift. Dealing the overnight shift was one of the most eye-opening things I've ever done in terms of my poker education, and I really, really love that I've done that. I used to think to myself like, man, these overnight dealers just they don't they don't enforce the rules and blah, 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 blah. And then by dealing overnight, I realized, oh, you actually couldn't if you wanted to for some of these details. Like you literally could not enforce the rules. The players wouldn't understand that. Like it's just and then you understand you get the big picture and you start to see. And I'm really glad that I've done all this stuff. Um, yeah. So let's see. How did you come up with the name True Poker Dealer? Quick answer. That's true. My answers are very long sometimes. The quick answer is um, I wanted poker dealer in the name because I had done work on search engine optimization and I wanted people to find me when they search for poker dealer on Google and on YouTube. And true just felt like the right word that fit me. I like the truth a lot. Uh, I don't like the parts of the industry where we like tell poker players things um, like come, maybe you'll get lucky. I hate all that that position stuff that casinos do in order to lure people in under the guise of luck. Um, and for me, it's like true poker dealer. It felt like the right thing to do, and I felt like it had some strength with a brand too. So thank you for that question. And I spent like hours, so even possibly multiple days, like choosing between a bunch of different things, and that was the one I came up with. And then it stuck and it was great. Um, let's see. I think that's why you know exactly what the struggles are. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've done the different jobs, right? The only job that I haven't done in poker is director. I have not run my own room, but I've even been a shift manager, which when I was the one there for those, 8 to 12 hours, I was the one that was responsible as the bottom line, especially in the event that the director was unavailable. So, and that was in a Churchill Downs casino, and then later in a Seminole casino in a poker room. But I'll give you guys another 60 seconds. We are at 90 minutes now. I'll be here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday and Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be live streaming every day. And, you guys have been awesome in here, just like always. And definitely appreciate everybody's questions, comments, and all that. I'll give you another minute or so if there's a last question or thing to discuss. And remember, if you want a demo for something, come early at the beginning of the live streams, and we'll go over that stuff. And I gotta say, 5 days in a row, I used to do a weekly Tuesday live stream where every Tuesday I would jump in and I would do this for a predictable couple of hours. It was like 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. years ago. And it was really great. Like people got used to me being there at that time. They would plan around it sometimes, and I would have a great following. I'm noticing that when I come on every single day, these live streams get better and better. And it's actually really motivating. Like, I used to think if I were to live stream every single day, I would exhaust myself, and it's totally not the case. So, you guys have me contemplating doing this on a regular basis, and I'm just starting to play with that now. I have to see what it's like when I'm, doing the school. And also the school we do at the end of week one after I teach the mechanics. One of these Zooms is going to be live on YouTube, which I feel excited about. And it's just, I decided I want to do that. So you guys will be able to see the mechanics feedback sessions for people where I take people's mechanics and I go over them and give them one-on-one feedback and stuff. That's going to be a part of the school. So that I'm very excited about too. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for asking the questions. And remember, if you're not satisfied with the answer you get, ask for more stuff. I'm happy to give it. Appreciate y'all and have a happy Saturday night.